Next, on the Colorado road trip, we take you to historic Bent's Old Fort off Highway 50 near La Junta. Then we travel on the Sante Fe Trail to the Pueblo Air Museum. From there, up I-25 to the Forney Automobile and Train Museum in Denver. And finally, we end up at the Shelby Automobile Museum in Boulder. Stay tuned, it's the Colorado road trip.
This is Bent's Old Fort. It's just off the Arkansas River, right off of Highway 50 near La Junta. It is a restored national fort that was built shortly after the Louisiana Purchase. This is where Indians and trappers and hunters came to trade right off the Sante Fe Trail. And we're going to have a peek at it here on Jann Scott tonight as we just barely scratch the Sante Fe Trail and this old fort. Bent's Old Fort has a colorful past which played a significant part in the United States history. The events and personalities associated with this 1830s to 1840s trading post played an important role in the westward expansion of the United States, according to the National Park Service. It was a privately owned trading post and was located on the Sante Fe Trail, which is where we're sitting today, right in front of the old Bent's Fort and the Mexican border, which was right here in Colorado. American, French, and Mexican frontiersmen, American Indians, occasional groups of explorers, and U.S. soldiers exchanged stories and goods here. And this is one place where the Indians and the Mexicans and the soldiers all got along, and the French and the Spanish. The fort's success largely depended on the ability to barter and transport and sell thousands of buffalo robes.
So hammer that I have, sure enough shine like silver, ring like gold.
Along the trail there are stops where you can stop and see the wagon ruts, and you can still see much of the plains, especially through Kansas, as they would have looked to the travelers in the 1830s and 40s. They would obtain their horses and livestock through trade with the Indians around Bent's Fort. They would take them up and trade them to travelers on the Oregon Trail.
We're on the Sante Fe Trail. We're on Highway 350, just southwest of La Junta, Colorado, and this goes all the way down to Trinidad. The Sante Fe Trail follows us all the way down, and we're going to have a look at it. There are two branches of the Sante Fe Trail. This is the mountain route where they came across Kansas on the Sante Fe Trail from Missouri through Lamar, La Junta, and then it branched. It comes off of Highway 50 and then down 350 to Trinidad and goes up over Raton Pass and then down around through Cimarron and connects up with the Cimarron Trail and then heads down and finally ends in Sante Fe. Also now in Kansas, there were two routes. One broke off in Kansas and went down through Comanche territory, but there was no water. Here, along this part of the Sante Fe Trail, it follows the Arkansas River for a good part of the way, and there was plenty of water. So we look at trails and old highways continuing on this edition of Jann Scott tonight. And, well, Route 66, except it's not. It's the Sante Fe Trail. And this is the year of the trails, isn't it? Everybody's going on the Oregon Trail. They're following Lewis and Clark, and you're following me, Jann Scott. All right. Well, you can hear the wind blow along the Sante Fe Trail where we are now between 1821 and 1846. The Sante Fe Trail, which extends in back of me, was a trade route of commerce for Mexican and American and Indian travelers. Behind me also you can see the mountains, and at this point along the Sante Fe Trail is the first place where the travelers who came across what was seemingly endless prairie saw these rocky mountains, and they knew that their trip was coming to an end. Santa Fe was not far away. This is the Comanche National Grassland. It was a safer route. The Comanche Indians didn't bother the travelers too much on this particular mountain route of the Santa Fe Trail. But if you went through New Mexico, there were many Comanche raiding parties, and as we talked to people here from La Junta and then down through Colorado, there are still stories of Kit Carson, Doc Holliday, and fighting the Comanches, and there's this distinct conversation that goes about the Indians. The Comanche Indians didn't like white people, and they massacred a lot of them. And there's a lot of history of fighting between whites and Indians, and you can still feel just a tad bit of tension. It's not academic here. This is where it all took place. Jann Scott on the Santa Fe Trail.
Hi, I'm Don Johnston. I have lived in La Junta for about 11 years and kind of collect a bit of history because I'm the village psychiatrist and meet a lot of people. La Junta is really important in that it was the branching of the Santa Fe Trail. If you went turn left, you would wind up in New Mexico eventually. If you turned right, you'd sort of wind up in Oregon on the Oregon Trail. And La Junta actually does mean the junction. It was also a place of refuge for the old cowboys from Dodge City and the OK Corral gang. When it got a little chilly in the winter, they'd come into La Junta, which was warmer and more temperate. Some of the old characters like Doc Holliday, the tubercular alcoholic dentist from Dodge, was known to hang out in La Junta in the wintertime, and other characters. Center of town was small. It was a real primitive place. It was a railway station. The Bent's Fort was the center of commerce in the old days and was built on the Arkansas River.
This is the Tempest Rest area on 350, and there's a trail here that goes right out onto the Santa Fe Trail where we're going to go. You can come down, you can bring bikes down here, like as in bicycles, or you can bring horses and ride along the Santa Fe Trail. Right here, the town of Tempest was a staging area. There's an old stage stop here. The Indians came through, and other traders and travelers, and traveled along the Tempest River. So we're now going to step out onto the Santa Fe Trail. There were millions and millions of buffalo also here along the Santa Fe Trail. There were hunters and trappers that hunted them, and then the buffalo were gone by the 1870s. And then cattle came into being, which is why these barbed wire fences are here. Because America ran out of beef, we slaughtered all the buffalo to feed everyone and to clothe and fur everyone. And the buffalo, the buffalo were gone. And by the 1870s, cattle started to drive down the Santa Fe Trail, and then the Texas Longhorn came into being. And you've seen some of those. And then behind me are the railroad tracks, and here comes the railway. You know, we built the railway across America, and here comes the Santa Fe Railway. Modern day, it comes forward. And there are people down here in this part of the country that really, they think it's too bad that the buffalo are gone, and all the wildlife, all the wolves are gone, all the bobcat, different kinds of animals have just disappeared, become extinct right off the face of the earth. The only buffalo today, of course, are ranched buffalo, but there were millions upon millions of buffalo that were hunted along the trail, and then, of course, they were hunted into extinction. Well, we're now standing in the middle of the Santa Fe Trail on Highway 350. The two markers that you can see, the road goes right down the middle. We'll show you some wagon ruts. So this is it, the Sante Fe Trail, built right along here. And if you come down on Highway 350 here in Colorado, you can actually drive on the Sante Fe Trail. There's asphalt. But over here on the left, you can see the old wagon ruts. Now this is 1823 to the 1870s, when the Mexican and United States War ended and the Louisiana Purchase was complete, and the states came later. But this is it.
Well, I just tell you that Mr. Welsbrod was the city manager here for 16 or 17 years of the city of Pueblo, and he was one of the main instigators that helped them get the museum started here.
Uh-huh.
They started out from virtually nothing to develop what we have today.
Oh, and who are you now?
I'm Paul R. Cooper, U.S. Navy, 44 to 45.
Do you work on a carrier or something, or?
No, sir, I was in PBM Mariners.
Oh. Do you fly planes?
No, sir, I was top turret gunner.
Oh, top turret gunner.
Top turret.
On a B-24?
No, on a PBM Mariner.
Oh, on a PBM Mariner. You got one out here?
No, sir, I wish we did.
To the hangar.
Most of these pictures here are all World War II.
Here's a B-29. It's an F-80 Silver Star?
Shooting star.
Shooting Star. That's a Korean era warplane.
Yeah. Our,
How many B-29s are left in the United States now?
there's, I don't know, 3 or 4. There's one supposed to be fully reconstructed in the Wichita Falls area by Boeing.
Between the propellers of a B-29. That's right. This is one of the. It wasn't the Super Fortress. What was it? It was called the. This was
This was a Super Fortress.
Super Fortress. We need these back.
20 tons. 20 tons. I believe that.
Come on in here, Raj. Look at this. Oh my God. Come here. Get underneath here. Come on in here. Oh, this is the bomb bay of a B-29. 20 tons of bombs right here.
I believe it's 20 tons.
Man. History.
Cadillac.
What's this now? Okay. Behind me is a Super Sabre. This flew in the Korean War. It's the famous Sabre jet that you've heard about. Also, it flew in Vietnam, and then they retired it. This helped win the Korean War and went up against the Russian MiGs and whooped them because we had more. Theirs were faster, but we had more, and we were better. Here's a Bell Sioux helicopter, Korean era.
That's what come to us from a gentleman that lives down at Fowler. That flag was liberated from some kind of German facility. Considered the ensign flag used by the naval.
That's a naval flag. And this is the big Führer flag right here.
Big Führer flag.
Here is, of course, the flag of freedom. And the Defender of Freedom next to it.
still dressed.
Go ahead. No, we got you. You're good. (1904) It's a 1905 Ford Model F. More cars than you could possibly imagine. And here's it's a Renault. A 1950 Jag Mark V. Mark V.
Looks like a carriage.
This car does look ancient, and this is a 1916 Detroit Electric. This is the first electric car made by the Anderson Carriage Company. Here's another 1924 Kissel here at the Forney Museum. Here's the big boy. Look at the size of this guy. It's huge. All aboard for Cincinnati, Detroit, Denver, and Boulder. Look at the cover that it had on it. What would that be called? Some kind of cowling. It doesn't have it now. This train, Peter, everybody, is huge. Look at the size. It's about 4 times the size of the one in Boulder. Well, let's step up in here to the big boy. Exciting. Come on into the big boy. The size of that the firebox. Wow. Look at all these cars. And there was actually a car called the Hubmobile. And here's a Rio. Look at this. Rio Red. They made trucks called Rios. And this looks like it has to be a Chevrolet or a... Oh, here's another Rio. 1909 Rio. Made by the Rio Motor Company. So, period piece. We're going to get ready to go on the into the Ford here. This is a Model T Ford. This was tough back in the day. This was tough back in the day. You come on over here and crank it over and see if we can. This is quite the car. You have your spark advance here and gas. And this car had two clutches, which are here, and the brake is in the center on this old guy. And then, of course, here's your starter button right here, but this one didn't. Maybe it did have a starter. And real nice leather. Love the seats. It's a It's the 1923 Hispano Suiza. Here's a 1937 Cord, a very, very rare car, very expensive. This is a multi-million-dollar car, 37 Cord, and look at the design, something that went on into the 50s. Look at it. Even to this day, this is a modern, aerodynamic-looking car. Well, we're at the Shelby Museum here in Boulder. This is the 2005 GT40 on the eve of the Christmas party that they're having at the museum. Big fundraiser. The interesting part is this car is being debuted here in Boulder. It's one of three. It's actually the one before they start making them into production this spring. This is Bill Murray.
Hi, how you doing tonight?
Good. Well, so I mean, you restore these cars, right?
Yeah, it's my job to take care of these cars, restore them. If we get a car that's in poor condition, which usually they are after 40 years, and then I build them back up and take care of them so we can race them. This is the number one, the first prototype. This is actually the first of the new Ford GT that was ever driven right here. And it was used in, they tried many different, like body configurations, engine improvements, and so on. And they've logged, thousands and thousands of miles on test tracks like at Dearborn and various tracks around the country. However, since it's going to be available for street use, it's a little bit taller, a little bit longer, a little more comfortable inside than the originals were. Yeah, no, they're very similar. And if you were to look over it here, say at this black one or blue one, the basic shape is the same. The 5.4 liter, it's the same, similar engine that's in the Ford Lightning pickup, the SVT product, except for they've given it more horsepower. It's a 32 valve engine. And the horsepower is roughly about 500 horsepower. All the chassis is made out of aluminum. It's all extruded aluminum. This one right here, a lot of these joints were temporary because this was one of their first ones they were building. Now they have actual forgings that they weld the channels and the extruded pieces into, so it's a very good, sturdy, stiff.
Oh, it smells like a race car.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you can feel. Look at this. It has
you got the dead pedal in it.
Oh yeah, and look at this. This is nice, huh? Look at this, and here's the shifter. Oh yeah, it's a 6-speed. No paddle shifters in this like the Ferrari F1.
No, that was part of the the throwback look and stuff. They wanted it to feel like the original cars. For instance, like you have the key to turn the ignition on.
Yeah.
But then they have a push button to actually start the engine.
Oh yeah, right.
So
up here.
right, so it's a neat feature, and people really like that when they see the production cars.
Look at this. When you get into a race car, you know you're in a race car. Of course, you want it to be like this in your race car because you don't want anything to burn if you catch on fire.
Right, and you want things that are easy to work on, easy to remove, and so on.
Here's fire extinguisher right here.
This is actually the car that won Le Mans in 1966.
This is the car that won Le
This
Mans.
is the car.
How much is this car worth?
And right next to it's a car that got second place.
How much is this one worth?
Probably about $3 to $3.5 million.
$3.5 million. And that one over there?
That's worth about the same, because that car won the 24 Hours of Daytona in '66. So they all have good history, very good, rich cars here.